Stop at Moat Marine Lab to discuss red tide funding turns into a long-ranging political discussion with U.S. Senator Bill Nelson. SNN's Samantha Sonner has the highlights.
NOAA is awarding $7 million nationwide for research on harmful algae blooms, including red tide and the blue-green algae.
You've seen what has happened. You've seen the effects on the beaches. You've also seen the effects on the inland waterways.
Moat's grants will allow them to study the relationship between the two algae.
And the effects of which they're studying of what is the symbiosis between that extra nutrient and the red tide.
Nelson took the time to answer more questions before leaving. He touched on new legislation he filed that would allow veterans access to medical marijuana.
And if anybody deserves it, veterans, in the treatment of their pain, so we avoid this vicious cycle that's a down spiral of them getting hooked on these opioid drugs.
Nelson also said he'll be visiting Puerto Rico, where he says residents were treated like second-class citizens after Hurricane Maria.
I mean, it was a totally botched operation. Can you imagine the people in Texas if they had been treated by FEMA like that? Or can you imagine our folks here in Florida if they had been treated like that by FEMA? So that should never again happen.
Nelson then moved on to U.S.-Cuba relations, which he says haven't improved since opening the new embassy.
The new president, after Raul, has carried on in the same tradition of denying human rights. The ladies in white are still harassed and jailed. There is no freedom of the press.
Reporting in Sarasota, I'm Samantha Sonner, SNN, the Suncoast News Network.